Hey there, thanks for joining me today. This is Lynn with keepinkingup.com. I'm an independent demonstrator for Stampin' Up in San Antonio, Texas. And this is the card that we're going to make today. Well, a card very similar to this. I'm going to use a different paper from the Designer Series paper pack. This is a card that I'll be making in my next workshop with Lisa. And I hope that everyone enjoys making this card. So, let me put that up to the side for a minute. I'm going to begin with a piece of our thick whisper white cardstock that is 5.5 inches by 8.5 inches, scored at 4.25 inches to make a standard A2 size card, which will fit in our medium size envelopes. And then I have 2 layers of cardstock, well, 1 layer of cardstock and 1 layer of Designer Series paper. This is that's the Joyous Noel Specialty Designer Series paper that's found here on page 29 of our 2018 holiday catalog. This is such beautiful paper. It's Specialty Designer Series paper. Every single sheet on one side has it's copper foiling. So look at all these beautiful papers, and each one of them has copper foiling on it. And then the back sides are very pretty patterns as well. They just don't happen to have the foiling on them, but they're really pretty patterns. So a really, really pretty set of Specialty Designer Series paper. So my Designer Series paper, I chose this Mary Merlot one that has the copper snowflakes and white snowflakes and gray granite snowflakes. This is cut to 3 3/4 inches by 5, and then I have a layer of gray granite, which is one of the colors in the paper, that is 3 7/8 by 5 1/8. So it gives it just a skinny little border around there when you layer it up. Now you notice that I have a hole in the middle, and that's because we're going to use this piece. I cut out this piece to layer my sentiment on the front of the card. But this is just a paper saving technique that I do quite often, because when you layer this piece of Designer Series paper over top, no one is ever going to see that hole on the back. It'll go on the card and no one will ever know the difference, but it'll save me some paper instead of using up scraps for this kind of a layering piece. So I'm going to go ahead and attach my Designer Series paper to my cardstock. I'm going to use Tombow multi-purpose glue. And I'm going to put it on my gray granite. I'm just going to put a thin bead around, and I'll come kind of close to there. You don't need very much. I like to use the glue because it gives me a little bit of wiggle room, especially when I have these really narrow mats. I like to use the glue so I can shift it around so I can get it centered as best as I can. That looks pretty good. And then I'm going to put some dimensionals on the back. I'm going to put 1 in each corner. And then 2 in the middle. That's just kind of what I do. So stick all of those down really well. And I can go ahead and put this on my card base. If I can take these off. Okay. I'll go ahead and stick this on my card base, like that. Isn't that pretty already? Let the Designer Series paper do all the hard work. It takes up a good amount of this card, and it just looks pretty. Look at that copper foiling. It's just so, so pretty. Okay, so because of that copper foiling, I am going to add a piece of our copper foil paper, very shiny. And then, so this is 1 inch by 3 3/4 inches. And then I have a piece of our gray granite that is 1/2 inch by 3 3/4. And I'm just going to layer that piece of gray granite on my copper foil. So I'll add glue again. Center this up on my foil paper. Like that. And now I can add this to my layers. Again, with a little bit of glue. And I'm going to put it down toward the bottom third of the card, right about there. Okay, I'll set that side to dry while we work on the rest of it. And I need to actually stamp my sentiment. My sentiment comes from the Peaceful Noel stamp set that is part of the Joyous Noel suite that goes with the Specialty Designer Series paper. And I'm going to use this Noel stamp. It is photopolymer. And I'm going to stamp this in Mary Merlot. So I'll open up my ink pad. And I will stamp the Noel in the center of my oval. This is a stitched oval from the Stitched Shapes framelits. I use those framelits all the time. I think that's my most favorite set of thinlits that don't coordinate specifically with a stamp set. But isn't that pretty? I love that the font of that Noel. It's just so elegant looking. I'm going to go ahead and close up my ink pad before I make a mess. And now I can attach my stitched oval to my scalloped oval. And this was from I cut this from the layering ovals thinlits that are in the main catalog. And I'm going to glue my stitched shape to my scalloped oval, like that. I'll turn that over and I'll add 2 dimensionals to the back of that, and add that to my card, right in the center, right there. And there's the finished card. It's similar to this one. It's the same layout, the same dimensions of everything. It's just using a different piece of the Designer Series paper, that Specialty Designer Series paper. And that really is the star of these cards. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed this tutorial on how to make this Christmas card. This is a really simple, easy design to use, especially if you're doing mass production. So I hope you found this video helpful, and I will see you in the next video. Thanks. Bye-bye.